Dear fellow Sierra Leoneans, I want to spend some time today for comments on the suffering of we fellow citizens as a result of the exorbitant price of fuel in Sierra Leone. The fuel price increment na salon no to salon no more. Now the entire world, all other countries of the world. Why? The reason we make petrol prices and don't go up so high now because of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Russia now one of the oil producing countries in the world. Russia now one of the top ranking gas producing countries in the world. So when there is conflict and all the sanctions in the way they don't impose on Russia, it don't result into supply no they go through as much as it used to. And because supply don't reduce, prices then they go up. But there are a few things today we I want to highlight. Number one, when petrol prices they may go down, the BO government officials then come on social media for claim credit for the new direction government, unashamedly. For claim credit, say the new direction government and government will focus, it do this, it do that, it do that. That was a very, very big mistake, a colossal mistake. Why? Because now when petrol prices don't go down, will they hold the government responsible? Government officials, they come knowing very well that petrol price increment and decrease not get anything to do with the government. It gets something to do with the market. So if government officials then they come unashamedly in social media for claim credit for petrol price decrease globally, where it affects Sierra Leone positively, then if petrol price increase globally, citizens will automatically assume say the government is responsible, as in the current case. So now BO government officials and don't begin shoot themselves in the leg. Now that make government as government for be responsible. Not to government way for be run by scandals and propagandas of all sorts. Any small opportunity the government see, then they seize them, full advantage of them. It should not be like that. So that's number one. Number two thing, I want to make you understand the impact of fuel price increment nationally. First and foremost, fuel price gets everything to do with every aspect of living. Now, because of fuel price increment, transportation don't go right up. Because transportation don't go right up, the movement of people and goods and services, it costs more. And because that they cost more, then prices and they are being passed on to citizens. So every aspect of living don't become tremendously difficult for citizens. So fuel price increments don't take a toll on citizens. People in the suffer at a rate that is unbearable. People in the suffer in a manner that is unbearable. Now, you go say no to the government in fault. But when you get a government such as the BO administration, where then they even can national media for defend and brag about the good stuff they wouldn't do, for brag about the state of Sierra Leone, for defend their records at a time where people in the suffer. This is so disheartening. Politics aside, it's a politics now the earth of service, serving other human beings with dignity and respect. If you get a government where no get conscience, a government where at this particular critical time in the lives of Sierra Leoneans, within the suffer, you expect a government, when a responsible government, for share in solidarity with citizens. Not to for can begin to harass them, bulldoze them, and can begin to show off, say, we don't do this, APC don't do this. This is not the time. The BO government, they don't fail in their responsibility for sympathize with citizens. They don't fail in their human rights responsibility, dignity as a human being, as a government. For come, say, my fellow citizens, they suffer as a result of global crisis. Make us sympathize, empathize with them. The BO government no show any solidarity. Let me give you an example. People always say, hey, they draw contrast between the living and the dead. We draw contrast between Sierra Leone and Western countries. But it's important for me to highlight the human aspect of it. When this fear crisis don't happen, nobody know you the president for come address the nation and sympathize with the nations, which we constraints people that they go through. Nobody know you a formal address from the government. Instead, they are busy politicizing it. Every country when we don't see, even underdeveloped countries, then whether we neighbor Liberia and Guinea, then president then don't come out for address the crisis and talk to their citizens and sympathize with their citizens, be in solidarity with their citizens. President Bio has not done that. Has not done that. Instead, he get all these stooges, them, Lawrence, him, and all these other lunatics on all other media outlets in Sierra Leone and social media. They defend the government at the time of this. It's so sickening. Let me tell you which other governments that they do. The US, for example, they don't decide, say they will release 1 million barrels of crude oil every day for ease petrol crisis, fuel crisis, not only in the world, but mainly for them people, so that petrol prices the world. All other countries like Europe, they take measures for make sure say petrol prices. Now Australia and Aiah, the government appeal to nations. The Prime Minister come on national television, address citizens. Several news outlets for explain to citizens they say this is a crisis, but I deal with you now. We all day in this fight together. Despite all the issues, it comes on board. And the government not only do that, they make sure say they cut fuel excess tax by half from 41%. Then bring it from 44.2%, then bring and come down to 22.1%. Salon government they tax importers of fuel. The government they tax you. So there's a lot of things this government, BO government, for able to do for ease the pressure on citizens. One of the things they're waiting for don't do now for ensure say they remove the tax from petrol, so that when you buy petrol, you don't need to pay tax on them again. That they reduce the cost of petrol at the pump. They've done nothing like that. You understand? Transportation, like government buses, they've able to reduce government bus fares for ensure say people only travel to the interior, to the provinces, then pay less. So the government is actually just sitting there, just they sit down and say, they full and food. They say this is an international crisis. The BO government will get nothing to do with them. That is not true. The government gets a role for play for reduce the suffering of the people. The government get a part for play for reduce. In fact, in Australia, they even give money to citizens, like low income earners can get up to $250 cash handout. They get tax break for businesses, for let business not collapse, because the government understands say if businesses then collapse and unemployment they go up, you understand? And the government will collect enough revenue, so it affects the economy. So instead, wouldn't they put measures in place for make sure say the businesses are kept afloat? Sierra Leone government has done nothing for alleviate the suffering of citizens during this difficult time. This is a shameful act for a government where the president they go now a church at a time of people in suffering and donate billions to a church and make a mockery of an opposition leader in the presence of Dr. Samura Kamara. This is not the kind of president and government we get. The level of irresponsibility that has been shown by the government when it comes to the suffering of citizens at the time of this international global crisis for fuel is pathetic. It's so sad. It's heartbreaking to see. Government for able to assure, government to be a pillar of assurance, government to be a pillar of hope, government to be a pillar of stability at the time of crisis. You understand? But we own government, they just sit down and fold and food. Now that make blackout don't almost kill people in Sierra Leone. Lights, they go for days. You don't talk about Bo, Kenema, Kono areas. You don't talk about those areas anymore. Even Freetown, there is not enough light. Light, they go for hours. All night, light don't go. People, they sleep and heat because they can't turn on their fan and air conditions. You understand? The suffering of the people, this government need to be a Soriat government. It need to be a government where not so stringent, where is so tunnel, get that tunnel vision on just what they want, on what they think is right. My advice to the BO government is that they will open their eyes and realize the suffering of citizens. Then for able sit down with people and sympathize with citizens at these difficult times. Then for able work with citizens then for find a better solution in addressing issues. Instead of sitting back and even coming back hard at citizens, coming on arresting people, their opposition leaders have been arrested because they are speaking out. You understand? In the presence of Dr. Dennis Bright and others, arrested just because they spoke their mind at an election. This is not the time where the BO government need to coil down. The arrogance in this government is beyond the moon. You understand? They need for coil down. Sierra Leone belongs to all of you, all of us, not just the paupers, the SLPPs, and the Mende people. No, Sierra Leone belongs to every citizen. But what we see with this government every day, now autocracy, suppression, deprivation, harassment, bullying. Even when people suffer, now the kind thing is when they make people and go into rebellion. You understand? That the kind thing is when they don't make people and don't embrace lunatics such as Adebayo and others. That the kind thing is when they make people and they lose hope for humanity and they go crazy and start breaking the laws, taking the laws into their hands because you get the government who not to Soriat government. BO government from the onset in 2018 in April to now, they don't take hard line towards everybody. We get a critical view about them. This is absolutely wrong. The BO government, a government, an institution which will ensure the best interest of people. But this government appears to take hard line on every issue where they come up. It is so undone, it's so disheartening. Someone who is neutral, we want to see the government succeed. We want to see President BO succeed. But this hard line, you get somebody like Lion Lawrence Lehman, they go now Radio 98.1. Without any substance, nothing tangible for offer. For threatening people and menace, all sort of disgraceful acts. This is so sad. I call on the BO government for let them open their eyes. Make them realize that tomorrow they're going to be in opposition. You can't be in governance forever. There's a beginning and end to everything, including human beings. You understand? They need to realize that they are there to serve Sierra Leoneans, not the other way around. They behave as if Sierra Leoneans are their subjects. They behave as if Sierra Leoneans them, not to motorman them, they're just rubbish. You have to be SLPP or a Kamajo or a Mende person or a pauper for make you get an audience in Sierra Leone, for make you get a full rights as per the constitution. This is wrong. It is absolutely wrong, and enough is enough. You don't push people in so far. You need to embrace people as a government. You need to sympathize with people and empathize with Sierra Leoneans at this difficult time. Rice price don't go up to 500,000 euros. You understand? Yes, it's a global crisis, but this is too much. You understand? Commodities, food, yabas, maggi, oil, everything has gone up. It is time for the BO government to stop the menace, for coil down on the level of arrogance which they don't display over the past 3.5 years and open their eyes to the truth that they should be serving citizens. Politics aside, BO governments, they don't take citizens for granted. For all these years, it is time for sure solidarity with citizens. Enough is enough.